Hi, and welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith, and in this video, we're going to learn the two-player game Citadels Duel, designed by Guillaume Motage and Manuel Rozois, and published by Z-Man Games, who helped sponsor this video. Based on the classic Citadels by designer Bruno Feduti, here, two city planning rivals go head-to-head as they persuade powerful allies to their side, construct spectacular structures, and look to hoard the most gold. So join me at the table and let's learn how to play. To set up, give one person this district stand with a black rose along with this matching bordered player aid, while the other takes the white versions of both. The game comes with several double-sided tiles known as districts. Each has a black bordered and white bordered side. In this video, we'll refer to these as the white and black sides. Organize all of these tiles into three groups. One should have the tiles with a purple banner in this area, which are known as the unique districts. The rest of the tiles will have blue, red, yellow, and green banners. From these, find the four starting districts, which have this hammer symbol at the bottom, and set them to one side. All of these others are known as the basic districts. So again, we have the unique, starting, and basic districts. Put the four starting districts into this black storage bag, mixing and drawing two randomly to put side by side so that each one is closer to a different player. Then ensure the one closest to the black player is flipped to the black side, and the other is flipped to the white side. After, return the black bag and its two tiles back to the box. Now put the unique districts, which have the purple banners, into this purple bag, giving them a good mix. Each person then draws three random tiles from this bag, keeping them a secret from the other player. After, privately examine your own tiles and pick two of them to keep, putting them onto your stand, with your colored side facing you, returning the unchosen tile back to the bag. Now I'll quickly do this for the other player as well. Why you might pick certain tiles over others will make more sense once you know more of the rules. And if this is your first game, feel free to just have each player take two random tiles from the bag for their stands, so they don't have to worry about making a choice. Either way, once each person has their two tiles, return the purple bag and its tiles back to the box. Now shuffle the remaining 16 basic tiles, randomly creating 4 stacks of 4 tiles each to the side of the playing area so that only the top tiles of each stack can be seen. And it does not matter which of their sides are face up. Within reach of the players, also put this council board with this Kingsguard piece placed in the center. Nearby, create a supply of these gold coins, setting the character cards, which have this back, into a face-down pile. These are the council seat tokens, which have a black and a white side. Put 4 of them with their black sides face up into these council seats, putting 4 with their white sides face up into seats as well. And it doesn't matter which of these slots the pieces go into, but when you're done, you'll have 1 token left over. Flip it to get a random side face up and put it into the remaining seat. The player who has 5 council seats in their color now takes 2 gold from the supply, and the person with 4 council seats takes 4 gold. Any coins a player has are put in a personal supply in front of themselves where they can be easily seen. And that's the setup. In Citadels Duel, each player will be recruiting allies to help them construct and take control of districts within the city, gather gold, and influence the council. Each of these things can help you earn points. Have the most points by the end of the game, and you'll win. The game is played over a series of rounds, and each round is divided into 3 phases, starting with the draft phase. Here you'll use the deck of 9 character cards. Each has a value from 1 to 9, a unique name, and a special ability printed at the bottom. Shuffle this deck and deal 4 characters to each person. This will leave you with 1 left over that you'll put unseen into a face-down discard pile. You can look at your own cards, but keep them a secret from the other player. And now have each person pick 2 of the characters they're holding to keep, putting the other 2 face down to give away. So I'll assume these are the 2 this player is going to give away. And when both players are ready, they then exchange these cards. So now we both have 4 character cards again. From these, we each secretly pick one of them to get rid of, putting it into the shared discard pile. So consider what this means. Of the 9 possible characters that could be in play, I've seen 6 of them. The 4 I began with, then the 2 my opponent handed me. I also gave 2 cards to my opponent, so I know 2 cards they could have. I also know 4 cards they cannot have. They cannot have the 2 I kept and never gave them, and they cannot have the 2 that they just handed me during our exchange. That said, neither of us saw the card that began face down on the table, and we also each discarded 1 card. So of the 9 total cards in the game, we have 3 each, and we both have some idea of what the other player's cards could be. As we'll see, knowing what your opponent might have and knowing what they think you might have is valuable information. Your player aid also shows all of the card values, character names, and abilities summarized on its back, which can be helpful when trying to remember what a player might have. All right, now that both players have 3 cards in hand, it's time for the resolve phase. Here, either one of the players will begin counting out loud, starting at 1 and going all the way up to 9. And as you say each number, pause. Because if either player is holding the character with that number, they say so, immediately put that card on the table and resolve its printed ability. Once that's done, you then continue counting out loud from where you left off. So, as an example, I might start the count and say 1. And since no one has reacted, that means that number must be in the discard pile, so I'd carry on. 2. Well, I'm holding the 2, so I would stop and play it, resolving its ability. After, we carry on counting from where we left off, so I'd say 3. If my opponent had that, they'd stop the count and play and resolve card 3's ability, and then we'd continue by calling out 4 and so on until all the numbers have been called or until we both run out of cards in our hands. So with that in mind, we need to go through the character abilities and see how they work. But I should start by saying character abilities are always optional. You can choose not to resolve them if you don't want to. As we'll see, some characters even have 2 abilities. If so, you can resolve both, just one of them, or neither of them. Now, instead of going through these in order from 1 to 9, I'm going to explain them in the order that I think is easiest to learn. We'll start with the Assassin, which actually is the first card to be called for, and if you have this, you resolve it by calling out any other character by their name or number. And if your opponent is holding that character, they must discard it. So if I had the Assassin and resolved it by calling out 5, the Merchant, and my opponent was holding the Merchant, they'd have to discard it. Now the effect of the Merchant will not be resolved when the 5 is called out later, because now no one has it. And this is where having a guess at what cards your opponent might be holding can be very powerful. It increases the odds that your Assassin will be effective. Remember, during the draft, you gave 2 of your cards to your opponent. If you can remember what they were, you might call for one of them when using the Assassin. Of course, that could be the one that they discarded. In a similar way, during that draft, if you never saw the Assassin, that could mean it was the character that started in the discard pile, but it's also likely your opponent is holding it. So look out. All right, moving on. Next we have card number 6, the Architect. This ability says that you may build up to 2 districts, reducing the cost of one of them by 1 gold. Building districts is an important part of the game. So before we get into building 2 and gaining discounts, let's just see what building a single district would normally look like. When you build a district, pick the top one from any of these stacks or one from your personal stand. For this example, I'll choose the one here. To build a district, you must first be able to pay its cost in gold coins shown in the area here. So this one costs 2 gold. When paying gold, take that number of coins from the ones you have, returning them to the supply. And then, no matter which side was face up when you bought it, flip the district you paid for to the side matching your color, so as the black player, like this. Any district flipped to your side is said to be under your control. After buying a district, place it so at least one of its sides touches the side of any other district already in play, which at the start of the game are the 2 tiles we put here during setup. So I could add this touching any side of these 2 districts, even this one controlled by my opponent. You cannot place a tile so it only touches other tiles diagonally, so this would not be allowed. Instead, I'll put this here. The tiles in this area make up what are known as the city, so each new district you add here grows the city. And after building a new district, put a gold coin from the supply onto that new tile for each district touching it that shares the same colored banner, not counting diagonally. We have 1 match here, so the church would gain 1 gold. This is called a build bonus. If it was later in the game and the city looked like this, then adding a green district here would put it adjacent to 1, 2, 3 other green districts, so the build bonus would add 3 gold to it. You would not count this green district because it's only adjacent diagonally. Also keep in mind, gold is a limited supply. That means if it runs out when playing, ignore any you would be owed. As we'll see, gold on districts you control will earn you points at the end of the game, but we also need to consider the city limits. As the game continues and new tiles are placed, the city cannot grow bigger than 4 tiles by 4 tiles. So if these had already been played and we added a new district here, we would now have our width of 4 tiles, so no new tiles could be placed beyond these edges. If we wanted to add this new district, it could not go here, but placing it here would be fine. In a similar way, this city already has its upper and lower limits of 4 tiles. So from now on, if players were adding districts to this city, they could only be added into these open spots. I should also point out, when choosing a district to build from these piles, you cannot go through them and see what's underneath. You must pick from what you can see. So only take a tile once you're sure you're going to build it. Also remember, when building a district, instead of choosing one from the tops of these stacks, you can also build one from your stand. These are placed like other districts, but they have a special ability printed at their bottom. Some have an after-built effect, which is resolved once right after you build it. For example, this public house allows each player with fewer than 3 gold to gain 2 gold from the supply after it's built. On the other hand, this library has an ongoing effect. Once it's in the city, anytime you gain a build bonus for matching colored districts, you add 2 gold for each instead of the usual 1. We're not going to go through all of the unique district effects, but how they work is printed on them and also summarized here at the back of the rulebook. You only have 2 unique buildings and won't gain more later, but keep in mind, these gain build bonuses like any other district. So in a city like this, if I added this here, it would give me a build bonus of 2 coins since there are 2 purple districts adjacent to it. With that, we've covered all the rules for building districts, so now this architect's ability should make more sense. It lets you build up to 2 districts, and you reduce the cost of one of them by 1 gold. That means if I was to build this temple with a cost of 1 gold, and then apply the discount from the architect to it, it would now be free to add to the city. Next up, let's see how you resolve this Abbot. It has 2 abilities separated by an and. You can resolve either or both of these, but when resolving both, you must resolve the top one first. This top one tells you that if you have less gold than your opponent, they must give you 1 gold. If you already had more gold, or you both had the same amount of gold, then this ability would do nothing. The next ability on the Abbot allows you to build 1 district, reducing its cost by 1 gold per blue banner district you already control, which is represented by this symbol. Anytime you see a square colored symbol like this, it's referring to the matching colored districts, which will also have that symbol in this area here. Remember, you control a district if it has your colored border. So as the black player, in a case like this, I have control of 2 blue bannered buildings, which are known as religious districts. And that means with the Abbot, I could build a district reducing its cost by 2 gold. So if I built this one, which costs 3 gold, I would only have to spend 1. Or if I built this one, which costs 1 gold, it would be free to build. And 0 gold is, of course, the lowest cost something can be reduced to. Next up, we have the merchant. When its ability resolves, the person playing it gains 3 gold, and then they also add 1 gold from the supply on up to 2 green bannered tiles they control, which is represented by this symbol. So if I had just played this merchant as the black player, I would gain 3 gold from the supply and then be able to put 1 extra gold on up to 2 different green bannered tiles I control, which represent commercial districts. So in a case like this, I might put 1 here and here, but I could also place fewer or none at all. Though as I mentioned earlier, adding gold to your districts makes them worth more points, which is usually good. Now let's look at the king, which has 2 abilities. The top one shows this symbol, which represents a council seat. When you're told to gain 1 council seat, as it says here, that means you flip any council seat showing your opponent's color over to your color. If all the seats are already showing your color, then nothing happens. Continuing this ability, you're then told to gain 1 council seat for each district you control with a gold banner. Gold bannered tiles represent noble districts. So as the black player, if I had played the king, the ability would now give me 2 more council seats for controlling these 2 gold districts. The king also has another ability, which begins by telling us to move the king's guard. At the start of the game, the king's guard is here, and moving it allows you to put it on any district of the city. If it was already on a district, then moving it allows you to put it on any other district except the one it was just on. As with all abilities, this one is optional, so you could choose not to move the king's guard, but if you did, then you may add 1 gold from the supply onto the district it moved to. If you chose not to move the guard with this ability, then you would not add a gold to its space. When the king's guard is on a district, it is said to be protecting that district and each other district sharing a side with it, but not ones on the diagonals. So when here, it protects this district and these 4 ones as well. But if it was here, it would be protecting these 3 districts instead. Any tile that is not protected is known as an unprotected district. So with the king's guard gone, all of these are unprotected. But while here, now just these tiles are unprotected. And we'll see why this matters in a moment. All right, next up we have the thief. When you resolve this ability, call out any character, and if your opponent has it in their hand, you take up to 3 gold from their pile and/or unprotected districts they control. As the black player, I could take all 3 of the gold from the white player's supply here, or all 3 from unprotected districts they control, or some combination of both. In this case, white has unprotected districts here, here, and here. So I might take 2 gold from this one and 1 from here, or just take 1 from here, 1 from here, and 1 from their supply. I could not take gold from here because this district is protected. All right, now let's look at the Warlord, who has 2 abilities separated by an or. This means you may only pick one of the abilities to resolve, and let's start by looking at the bottom one. It allows you to move the king's guard, and we already know how that works. If we resolved the top ability instead, it says we gain control of an unprotected city, which the symbol represents, by paying its value reduced by 1 gold for each red bannered district we control, which is represented by this symbol. The value of a district is the gold coins printed on it plus any gold coins sitting on the district itself. So as the black player, if I wanted to use the Warlord to take control of this district, I would need to pay the 3 gold showing here plus 2 more gold for the pieces here, or 5 gold total. However, remember, the Warlord says you pay 1 less for each red bannered tile you control, which represents military districts. Since I control these 2 military districts, I would pay 2 less to take control of this, meaning I'd just pay 3 gold. After, I would then flip the district to my color, keeping any gold it had there on top of it. Just remember, the Warlord's ability only lets you take control of an unprotected district. Also, unless an ability says otherwise, anytime you have to pay gold for something, it must come from your personal supply. You cannot pay using gold you might have on districts that you control. Moving on, here's another character with two abilities separated by an or. If you resolve the bottom effect, you gain 2 council seats using the rules we learned about previously. Or instead, you can resolve the top ability, which allows you to take control of an unprotected district by losing council seats equal to its value. So as the black player, if I wanted to take control of this district, it has a value of 2 plus the 1 gold on it for a total of 3. That means I would need to lose 3 of my council seats, which I do by flipping them to my opponent's color, and then I would flip the related district, keeping any gold there on top of it. This brings us to the final character, the Queen. Here we're told to gain 1 council seat for each unique color of district we control. As the black player, if this was the city and I had played the Queen, I control districts of 2 different colors, yellow and green, so I would take control of 2 seats. And with that, we've covered all the character abilities. You'll find these summarized here on your player aid, and remember, as it shows here on the other side, during the resolve phase, you call out and resolve the characters players are holding one at a time in numerical order. Once the players have no more cards in their hands, you then move on to the expansion phase. Here, the person with the most council seats gains 3 gold and may build any 1 district. Then after, the other player must choose to either gain 2 gold or build the district. So having the most council seats during the expansion phase is an advantage, but everything is a trade-off. If you spent the round gaining more council seats, that might have allowed the other player to steal more gold or build more districts and so on. Either way, at the end of the expansion phase, if there are empty spaces in the city's 4x4 grid, you start a new round. Do this by gathering all 9 character cards together again, and then shuffle and deal 4 of them to each player, discarding the leftover 1 and performing a draft phase. Then a resolve phase, and an expansion phase, as we previously learned. And rounds will continue like this until there are 16 tiles in the city. As soon as the city's 4x4 grid is filled, the game ends immediately. In other words, if you're in the resolve phase and use a character to build the final district, as soon as that character's ability is complete, the game ends. You do not finish the rest of the round. Instead, with the game over, you now move right to final scoring. Each player now earns points equal to the cost printed on each of the districts they control, and 1 point for each gold piece on those districts. But you do not earn any points for gold in your personal supply. Then the players earn 1 more point for every 2 council seats in their color. And then the person with the most total points wins. In the case of a tie, the player with the most gold in their personal supply wins. And if there's still a tie, the player with the most council seats wins. And that's everything you need to know to play Citadels Duel. If you have any questions about anything you saw here, feel free to put them in the comments below, and I'll gladly answer them as soon as I get a chance. You'll also find forums for discussion, pictures, other videos, and lots more over on the games page at Board Game Geek, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like, subscribing, and clicking that little bell icon so you get notification anytime I post a new video. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can join the Patreon team, which I'll have linked below. But until next time, thanks for watching.